What's up, ladies and gents? Vivek Wallace, Boxing 24/7, formerly Eastside Boxing, coming to you guys this week with the Left Hook Lounge mailbag in video format, which we've never done. For the last 15 years, it's been written format where you guys have to read and spend about 10 minutes trying to dissect my thoughts. Thought it would be a little bit easier if we transition with the times and go to a video format where I can flesh those thoughts out a little bit more in living color. So at any rate, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. First question comes to us this week from a gentleman by the name of Marcus. Marcus is out of Charlotte, North Carolina, my city. Love Charlotte, great city. Marcus's question goes back to the pound for pound discussion. And he's asking specifically my thoughts on the pound for pound debate in this era. And, I think the best way for me to explain this one, guys, and some of you have been on this journey with me since 2005, 6, back in that era. And my thoughts then pretty much parallel my thoughts now. I've always been one to grade on a very hard curve. Sometimes people think unnecessarily hard, but what I love about grading on a hard curve is that you become a standard because people know that you're not going to give information with fluff, or fabricate information. If you ask someone from Top Rank, they're going to tell you the best pound for pound fighter is Terrence Crawford. If you ask someone at PBC, they're going to say Tank. You ask Golden Boy, they're going to say Canelo. That's why I don't do the mythical thing, because everyone gives more of their opinion. And in this era, it's more about who puts cheeks in seats. And to me, those things have never made a truly incredible talent. They make great fighters, and that's what people gauge great fighters with. Well, pound for pound for me, again, staying away from the mythical thing and just looking at the reason that the term was coined. If you think about it, when that term was coined, it was coined for one man, despite the fact that there were many other greats and legends in that era. But despite all of that other talent in that era, it was coined for Sugar Ray Robinson because out of all of those men, he was the one man who had a specifically profound talent that transcends era, body size, weight class, whatever you can come up with. In other words, if you put Sugar Ray Robinson's talent in a heavyweight body, it would find comparable success. If you put it in a lightweight body, in a different era, it will find success. Again, transcendent of era, weight class, body size, any of that stuff, you're looking at the same results. And when I think about that, it makes me actually have to backtrack because it really makes me think about what Mayweather was saying just a couple of days ago, in the sense that this era, is like everyone has a belt. We have the franchise belt. We have the diamond belt. Everyone, it's the good old vintage, everyone gets a trophy type mindset. And I'm not a fan of that, which is why I just don't do the mythical thing. When I look at talent in this era, I think the closest I would come to the entire mythical conversation would be looking at the group of fighters out there and asking myself, which one requires the least amount of matchmaking manipulation? In other words, which promoter and matchmaker can say, we're going to put him in the ring with this guy and not have to think about whether or not he might win or how it's going to rock the boat. If he doesn't, just, hey, we want to put this guy in the ring with that guy. Best in class, whatever, we want to put him in and not have to think too hard. So judging by that standard, and again, this isn't the mythical pound for pound. This is, I guess, the safest way that I will play this conversation, being that I don't do mythical. If I had to look at the guys in this era who require the least amount of manipulation with matchmaking, I would say it's the Monster in UA from Japan, and probably Canelo. Those are two guys, you can put them a weight class below their weight class. You can put them against the best in their weight class. You can probably put them in the best in with the best in the weight class above theirs. And no matter who the opponent is, you can do it comfortably knowing there's a high probability that those fighters are going to win. Those are the only two guys I think you can probably approach from that standpoint. When you look around the sport, there's a lot of other great talent, but every last one of them requires some type of manipulation with matchmaking. Terrence Crawford, some people say he's a pound for pound. Great talent, very, very solid talent. But we don't know when it comes to Errol Spence. We have questions about how it will work with Porter. We don't know exactly if he could handle Pacquiao's punch. Like that, we have to think a lot. A matchmaker or promoter has to think a lot before they organize a match like that. And that's why we haven't seen some of them. We look at the kid from last week, Berlanga, and that's very classic for this era. 15-0, 15 KOs, all in the first round. Sounds amazing. The very thing that the sport is using to build him up is what I would use to tear him down. And I don't mean that literally. He's a great talent. I'm very interested in seeing him. The Puerto Rican connection, my kids, my son, he's a fan. He watched that fight. He's happy that it's a new great Puerto Rican fighter in the sport. But the reality is we've never seen this kid take a punch. We look at someone like Devin Haney, incredible talent, remarkable. We've never seen him in the trenches. So when I think about those things, that's why I don't do mythical. It's too easy to jump on a hype train and look real stupid when it doesn't pan out. So, I say all that to say this. I don't do mythical. If we're going to narrow it down to the two fighters in the sport today that don't require heavy manipulation with matchmaking, I would say Inoue from Japan and Canelo. Those are the two fighters I think you have to think less about out of fear of something going wrong. So that's all I got on that one. I don't do the mythical thing. I'm sorry. I hope you guys can reference this video in the future. I get asked that question all the time, and it's the same answer. It has been the same answer for the last 15 years. I don't think it's going to change, to be very honest. But that's all I got on that one. Second question comes to us from Andres. Andres is right here in South Florida. Andres wants to know my thoughts about the aftermath of Lopez Lomachenko. Going into that fight, I did a video breaking down what I expected to happen. Now it was incredibly accurate, and admittedly, I'm not always that accurate, but it was incredibly accurate, almost to the point of hair splitting. It was what I thought a total dissection by Lopez. He did a hell of a job. A lot of people are talking about a rematch now. You know what? That rematch could have happened. It was Lomachenko's team that had the leverage. They opted not to put the rematch clause in the contract, thinking they would win. And this is just one of those situations where that move is really coming back to bite them because they came up short. And right now, they don't have the option. And to be very candid, from all I'm hearing, Lopez is not looking back. Like he's not looking in the rear view. He's focused forward, possibly at 140 to face Ramirez up at 140. And the kid is looking to make more history. So I don't think he's looking back. I mean, everyone has a price tag. I know he thinks he can beat Lomachenko. So, if the price is right, he may do it again. But personally, I don't see a need for a rematch. I've seen the video with the shoulder surgery or whatnot for Lomachenko. I'm really not a big fan of the post-fight excuses. It doesn't sit well with me, guys. I thought after breaking down video that Lopez was actually the better fighter going in. He's one of those guys I think is under the radar but above the rim. He came in, everyone is thinking he's just a puncher. When you watch the film, he does things that a pure boxer does. You know, he wasn't just a puncher. He's slipping shots. He's doing pull counters, shooting fades. Like he showed a full arsenal when you go and look at his body of work. And I mean, I felt that exactly what we saw happen was going to happen, and it did. You know, so now in the aftermath, I don't think we'll get another rematch. And to be very candid, I personally don't care, you know, to see another rematch. But that's just my thoughts on it. You know, I think I will say this. Lomachenko, in my estimation, beats the best of the rest. You know, I think he's too much for Tank right now. I think he's too much for Devin Haney, Garcia, any of those guys you want to put in. I think Lomachenko is still maybe too much for them. Tank has a really good shot, but the other ones I don't think they're totally ready. So hopefully we get a chance to see some of that, and maybe the winner will get a chance to square off against them. Who knows? So that's all I have on that one. The final question I'm going to take this week comes to us from a gentleman by the name of Robert. Robert's out of Pittsburgh. He just wants to know my thoughts on Pacquiao's place in the welterweight division today. I won't say that he's the best welterweight, but I will say definitively you can still place him at the top somewhere. You know, once upon a time, we used to see guys his age get feasted on by the up-and-coming lions in the sport. And I'll be honest, you know, none of these guys are making that fight. None of them seem particularly interested. The biggest puncher in the crop, Keith Thurman, was man enough to take the fight, and it was a bad night for him. And I'm not saying it as in he somehow mysteriously had a bad night. He had a bad night because a good fighter was fighting a legendary great fighter. And I just think that goes to show Manny Pacquiao is still heads and shoulders above what's around today, which is astonishing. You know, when you look at his body of work and the knockout by Marquez and all of that stuff. You know, Crawford, I think, catches pure hell with Manny Pacquiao. He's still fast, still, you know, can give a punch, can take a punch. He even at this stage, he still is at the top of his game. So, I don't know, guys. I mean, Porter would be an interesting fight, but Pacquiao, I mean, Porter's not hurting or stopping Pacquiao. If you can't hurt or stop Pacquiao, you better be a damn good boxer because you're probably not going to beat him any other way. So, Spence, you know, we don't know what he's going to look like. He didn't spar for an entire year. I'm not very confident that he's going to be the guy that we saw prior to his accident. You know, when the body gets hit, I mean, just think about it this way. It'll be the first time his body faces true trauma since that car accident. And that was a horrific car accident. So in a very PTSD type way, we just don't know how his body's going to respond. You know, so I don't know that we can say Spence is better. You know, I don't know. When we look at the crop of today's fighters, like I said, Thurman is the biggest puncher. And even with his punch, he could not keep Pacquiao off of him. So Spence is the only partial question mark. Everyone else, if Pacquiao is what he was against Thurman, I think he still sits right atop that division, which is crazy. But anyway, those are the three questions that I have for this week, ladies and gents. Keep the questions coming. This is actually pretty cool. I like the video format, and I'm looking forward to doing it with you guys going forward. So keep them coming. We'll do this again next week. On that note, though, I just want to say thank you guys for following me on this journey, and peace. Like always, God bless. One love. See you at the fights.